Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. Here to discuss a few things out there in the weather world. The first thing being the tropics. We're watching a tropical wave that could eventually get into the Caribbean and then have a shot to develop. Will it develop? And if it does, where does it go? So we'll speak on that. After that, we have a severe weather day coming up. So unfortunately, the return of severe weather, and if I'm being honest, I'm not a big fan of discussing severe weather. Much rather get out there in the elements and chase it a little bit, but we got some things to talk about. Saturday looks to be a big day of severe weather, so we'll speak on that. After that, we'll go over today's weather, and then we'll be done, and we'll go off and enjoy our Wednesday. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So we'll take a look at the entire Atlantic. We'll go over the tropics first, make sure this is going to work for us, and it is just a little bit too big. So we'll get that off and try it again. That looks much better. So this is Lorenzo right in here. You would think that this is it actually with this big blow up of convection, but it's actually this bottom circle right here. Just a weak tropical storm. Nothing really to discuss about that. And then we got some tropical energy right in here. And this is our tropical wave. Currently has not been dubbed an area of interest by the National Hurricane Center. And I think the reason being is because if this area is going to develop, it's going to have to make the entire track all the way into the Caribbean before it does have that shot to develop right into here. And honestly, I don't think that's going to happen between now and the next 7 days. So, of course, the National Hurricane Center graphics and discussions go out between now and the next 7 days. Nothing past that. So I think that's why they haven't issued an area of interest out of this wave yet. So that's current conditions out here. Nothing else going on. Nothing else to really worry about. So we'll continue to move forward here. And there's Lorenzo right there, a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It has weakened even more since yesterday. We're not really worried about it, but I will show you the cone just to show you. In fact, we're expecting this to completely fizzle apart and not even really be a tropical storm anymore over the next 24 hours or so. So we'll move past that. Let's go over some model guides. So we'll start off with tomorrow morning, October the 16th. Okay, and I know it ain't much to really see here, but this blob of green right here, that is actually our tropical wave. So we'll scoot this through over the next 4 or 5 days or so. We get into our Friday, we get into our Saturday, and we get into our Sunday. Okay, and let's go on and take it out into about our Monday morning. Whatever's left over of this tropical wave is sneaking into the Eastern Caribbean. So now we can switch gears and look at this. So once again, starting off Monday morning now, October the 20th. And I showed you that first panel just because I want to show you how weak this will be between now and basically early next week. Now with the Euro, what does it do next as this energy right here gets into the Caribbean? We continue to move forward. Not much of anything. We get into about a week from today. So this is next Wednesday morning, October the 22nd. This blob of green or yellow and some splashes of orange and red here and there, just shower and storm activity, starts to get a little bit more distinct on your map here. So you start to see an occasional L pop up. This is getting between day 7 and day 10. And then we get to day 10 and we have just a broad area of low pressure, basically a lot of unsettled weather down here in the Caribbean. So this is going to bring just a lot of tropical moisture into Jamaica, maybe into Cuba, Central America, things like that. So does this eventually develop into something? So we keep this going, and it does. It looks like it's steadily trying to develop into a stronger, very broad low pressure, I might add. Not a forecast, and it begins to sling a lot of moisture up through Jamaica, Cuba, and by the time we get like past 300 hours out, which is, by the way, all the way into like the last Monday of October, it does kind of eject, if you will, this tropical energy through the greater Antilles and then gets it off the east coast of the eastern U.S. And you actually got a pretty strong storm system way out there. I'm talking about all the way to the October 29th time frame off the east coast. This is not a forecast, but it's interesting now that the Euro is showing something. What about the GFS? We only got about 10 days of it. But same thing, we start off more so Sunday, and this is our blob of energy right here, sneaking in to the Caribbean, and we get into Tuesday, then we get into Wednesday. Now, the GFS has some what we call convective feedback, which means it likes to overdo reflecting shower and storm activity. It just really likes to blow it out of proportion. And I don't think this is going to be any different as we continue to move forward. And here it goes, getting strong right here in smack dab in the middle of the Caribbean. And we get into Thursday morning, 8 days from now, and then it rapidly intensifies this into a major hurricane by next Friday morning, October the 24th. And of course, we don't want this to happen, and then it starts to mess around with the Greater Antilles, Jamaica. And I will tell you that the GFS has really been consistent with at least a stronger storm system. It's just everywhere with it. Now, is this going to be another scenario where the GFS falls flat on its face again? Not sure, but what's interesting to me is the Euro is showing something in this area also, just not near as aggressive as the GFS, of course. But 10 days from now, has a major hurricane tucked in between, Hispaniola, Cuba, and Jamaica. We don't want to see that, but we need to watch out for this region. Euro AI model, which normally takes the more conservative route, which has been right more oftentimes than not, takes this wave, whatever's left over of it, and guys, there is a chance this wave doesn't even survive survive the tropical Atlantic. But it does have something here, just not strong at all. It doesn't even really develop into a tropical cyclone and doesn't really develop into anything. Just has a lot of moisture hanging out down here in the Caribbean. The Canadian, pretty strong right off the dot. By next Monday morning, already has pretty much a tropical cyclone, if we can get this in motion here. And we're getting into next Tuesday morning, 6 days from now, has a tropical storm. And by the time we get about 8, 9 days from now, 10 days, has some sort of tropical cyclone getting right into here. Like, for example, this is around about a week from today, about next Wednesday morning, has a tropical storm. Next name is Melissa, by the way, just south of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So not a forecast, but we're watching it. Then the icon, what does it do? Monday morning, then we get into Tuesday morning, and then we get 1 week from today, and it does have a weak tropical system, but around a tropical cyclone in strength. Pretty low down here in the Caribbean, but there is something down here. So what about the ensemble guidance? The Euro, okay, and this is between now and 1 week, and there's a few members starting to show up. You notice there's not really anything showing up before it gets into the Caribbean. It's just when it gets to the Caribbean, if there's really truly anything left of this system, it will have a shot to develop in the Caribbean. So at around the 1 week time frame, there's some members out of the 51 showing something, not a whole lot. And then we go between day 7 and day 10. There's a lot more members and some stronger members, but everything's just kind of hanging out down here. To the day 10 mark, you don't see anything kind of getting north or anything like that. Now, what about the GFS ensemble? Remember, this only makes up 21 members. So if you see more members, it's a little bit more impressive, right, of a signal. And between now and day 7, 1 week, definitely more members down here, some that are strong. And then we go between now and day 10, and there is a lot of clustering of members all hanging out down here in the Caribbean. And some of these are quite strong. And then the Google DeepMind ensemble guidance, which has done very well. Not a lot of members. And listen, the track record of this has been very well, has done very good so far this hurricane season. So now to kind of wrap up this update on the tropics, we're coming to the end of hurricane season. We won't be talking about this much more. Honestly, I think this will be the last hurrah, this wave that we're tracking. But it does say between the 22nd and 28th, which it's the 15th now, so getting to that day 7 period onward, there is a 40% chance of tropical development into this area, in this solid red color. And that red and white striped area, that's a 20% chance. So it's obviously picking up on what we just discussed over the last several minutes with this tropical wave getting to the Caribbean. The National Weather Service sees it. So if you go down to the 29th through November, it's crazy. Almost to November, guys. Almost time to put up that Christmas tree, right? No tropical cyclone development is expected. So we're just coming to an end. This is going to be the last. I'm not going to say that. This is going to be one of the last chances, I think. And I think, honestly, I have a feeling this will be the last shot. All right. So moving past that, we do have a risk of severe weather. And I'm just really going to focus in on Saturday here. But you see this yellow area? This is for this Saturday. we have a 15% risk of severe weather, any severe weather within 25 miles in a given location. This is basically a level 2 out of 5, slight risk at day 4, which is this Saturday. This includes the entire state of Arkansas, good chunk of Missouri. Let's just start north to south. So it includes Springfield up to just south of St. Louis. The northern edge of this has been cut down a little bit. It was including like Jefferson City, I believe Columbia yesterday. Paducah, it includes over here to Murray, Carbondale, Evansville, down to Memphis, includes Jackson, Dyersburg, all of Arkansas. I've already said Memphis, down to Clarksdale, Greenville, Greenwood, down to Vicksburg, down to Shreveport, Monroe, Longview, Texarkana, the Arklatex, all the way down to Tyler, Fort Smith, Fayetteville. So all these areas are included. I really need to upgrade my color scale with this, but entire boot of Missouri. So 15% risk of severe weather. This hasn't changed a whole lot since yesterday. Now what's driving this? What's happening is our first initial trough is digging down. When I say trough, this is our dip in the jet stream, guys. So let's use this. Our dip in the jet stream going like this, and with it you're going to have a flow coming from the southwest to the northeast. Okay, this is going to help yank in the thermodynamics needed for severe weather. We're really focusing on the kinematics, wind energy for severe weather right now. You see this belt of flow in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. This is at 500 millibars, so what, 18,000 feet up in the air. Now we keep on going, and this first initial dip, or this first initial trough begins to weaken, and we kind of have a new trough that digs down out of Canada. A dip in the jet. So we get into Friday, and this thing comes in fast. But really the leftover trough, initial trough, is really what generates the wind energy in the atmosphere. It's kind of like they almost combine together here. So as we're getting into Saturday, which is the big day of interest, Saturday afternoon, here we go. You see this area right into here? Okay, this is the area to watch out for. You know, this purplish region right here, that is flow in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. You know, and there's probably in the low levels and certainly in the upper levels. And so this flow, wind energy, is going to overlap a pretty moist environment, which is what I'm about to zoom into here in a second. So comes diving down like this and then shoots across like this. And what does this do? This yanks in flow from the south, and it yanks in moist air from the Gulf or just the southern areas, just the lower latitudes where you have more moist and warm air. So this is typical just early season, fall, secondary, severe weather season type stuff. So you check that off the box here. And I will mention as you get into Sunday, you know, you're going to have a lot of flow shooting across the eastern U.S. too as this slowly moves into Sunday. But this thing really becomes almost neutrally tilted. And we got to watch for some thunderstorms too, especially down here. But I do think this is picking up some speed, and the timing might be a little messed up for severe weather chances for the eastern U.S., but I certainly think we'll get some, and we'll focus a little bit more on that in due time. But focusing in here on Saturday, dew points in the 60s, 70s really support severe weather. 50s and lower, not so much. You can get severe weather in the 50s, especially when you get further north. But really 60s and 70s is that area you really watch out for. So as we're getting into Saturday, you can see a big plume of moist air, those higher dew points, deeper pool of moisture. I can't talk, moisture. That's the second time I messed up a word, but this moist sector builds in from the south because of the flow coming from the south to the north. And yeah, this is going to be overlapped by the kinematics. So underneath all that wind energy, we got a lot of moist air. So moist air, thermodynamics, and then wind energy, kinematics, coming together, overlapping one another. And what do you get? You get a severe weather day. Now, what is going to be the storm mode? Is it going to be driven mainly off winds? Is the biggest threat going to be tornadoes? I'm thinking it's going to be winds as of now, but this is a pretty broad, moist sector, and we got some deep moisture down here in Arkansas. Further south, you get, obviously, the deeper the moisture, higher the dew points, but certainly some moist air in this area. Next thing you'll go to is what the radar could look like now. We're not short-range model guys. All we can do is look at just the Euro, and you'll see just blobs of green and yellow and orange pop up on your screen. And as we're waking up Saturday morning across this area, we're getting some thunderstorms already moving through areas of, you know, eastern Oklahoma, Missouri, northwest Arkansas. And then as we start to move into, say, Saturday afternoon, you can see just, and I know this don't look like a whole lot. It doesn't really help you a whole lot. We'll zoom into this when we get closer, but you can see just a lot of green, blobs of yellow and orange. This indicates just thunderstorm activity. What's going to be the storm mode of this is going to be more linear, more of a straight line, bowing line of storms, meaning a higher wind threat, or is it going to be kind of a mixture of everything? I don't think the hail threat will be huge with this, but we'll have to certainly see, especially with the dry air punch coming behind it. But you can see where the thunderstorms are right in this region, pretty much right on top of that 15% risk area. And then we'll certainly watch as we start to get into Saturday night. A lot of energy shooting across the Mid-South, getting into the Ohio Valley, the Deep South, and we'll have to wake up Sunday morning and see what's going on with this. I will tell you, though, guys, there's going to be a solid punch of dry air behind this, and this is another way to look at dew points. And you can see this moist sector building all the way up into the Great Lakes region as we're getting into Saturday night. And then immediately following this, we got a big punch of dry air that funnels in. And what's wild is the Euro just gets reinforcing shots of this dry air, and some of this is really getting down to Florida. So it really looks like after this, any significant cool down? No, but just it looks like we really flood the country with a lot of reinforcing shots of dry air. So, all right, moving forward and talking about today's weather, we do have, let's get this in motion, we do have some flow already setting up over the western U.S. with this dip in the jet that's already going to set the stage for severe weather here in the next few days. And we do have a threat of severe weather actually today across areas of the Rockies and points east, but a little bit of moisture going across the west. We got some rain showers across the Midwest and some scooting across the southern Great Lakes region like lower Michigan. And then we got some activity here in PA, and almost looks like it's lake effect in nature with the flow it's going, but not really. But anyways, not a whole lot of active weather ongoing. Watches, warnings, and advisories. A lot of dense fog across the high plains, and some winter weather advisories across the Yellowstone National Park area. Winter storm warnings continue to Sierra Nevada. Outside of that, not a whole lot. Threat of severe weather, we got to watch out for pretty much the Front Range down into northern New Mexico, up into Wyoming, and western areas of Nebraska, and then southwestern areas of South Dakota. And I think I already said Wyoming, but level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather. Tornado threat with this. There is a 2% risk. This is kind of in a weird area. Albuquerque, up in the southern areas of Colorado. So kind of an odd area for a tornado threat, but certainly here we are. And of course, hail can always overachieve in these severe weather threats where you have the best lapse rates with higher elevated regions. So now if we're looking at excessive rainfall, there's nothing really to worry about. A little bit of a 5% risk in areas of Colorado, New Mexico, but nothing to be concerned about. The southeast today, a little bit of shower activity could drift along the Outer Banks, maybe into Florida, but yeah, it's a nice day. There's really nothing to speak on. Northeast, pretty nice too. Little wraparound flow could bring a little sprinkle shower activity, maybe even some higher elevation snow. Snow showers, snow flurries in the main, but outside of that, it's quiet. But it could wake up to a little bit of a rain-snow mix in northern Maine. It's about that time of the year. South central U.S., just be mindful of these storms, especially the Colorado-New Mexico border, north and south of it. These storms right here could pack a punch. If you live in this region, say hi. But you definitely could get some strong to severe thunderstorms in this area. And then some storms could meander into eastern areas of Colorado. But up here in the north central U.S., we'll continue to get these pesky showers in Iowa, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, maybe even into northern Indiana. And some storms will eject across the northern plains, start to move into areas of western Dakotas, western Nebraska. And we'll get more of a big plume of rain through areas of the Dakotas, as you can tell, as we're getting more so late tonight to tomorrow morning. We're going to wake up to a damp start across northern Minnesota and then areas of North Dakota. So the western U.S., a lot of energy shooting through, especially right smack in the middle of the central Rockies, higher elevation snow, lower elevation showers and storms. And so, watch out for some storms this evening across Wyoming. You can see them right here. So, yeah, moving forward, running out of gas here. The Northeast, 40s, 50s, maybe some low 60s for highs, but a chilly fall day across the Northeast. Check out this temperature boundary across the Midwest and the Plains, guys. Wild stuff. I mean, you don't have to drive far to go from very comfortable conditions to chilly conditions. Not too bad across the southern tier of the country, but certainly warmer than average. But at least we got some dry air for some of these areas. And there's that temperature gradient here. Most of the western U.S. is pretty chilly, though. Below average temperatures for a lot of areas. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Wanted to add something. I don't have a devotion this morning. I'll get right back to it. I slept in a little bit this morning. Yeah. That's it, honestly. Not a whole lot to talk about. You know, it's wild. When I did the video yesterday, I made severe weather. Severe weather kind of the main show of the video yesterday, and it was wild seeing. It kind of goes back to spring with how with really just lack of growth I got during the entire spring. It's like nobody really wants to hear about severe weather. They just want to watch, I guess, people who live chase it and stuff like that. But the views of the video yesterday just tanked when I made kind of the main show about severe weather. So it was kind of an experimental thing, and I pretty much got the answer I thought I was going to get. But you can just tell people aren't. If there's one genre of weather, you got severe weather, you got the tropics, and you got winter weather. If there's one genre of weather that people don't really like listening about much, it's severe weather. And trust me, as somebody who discusses all of them, no matter what kind of views it gets, because I want to keep you guys aware, severe weather is my least favorite to talk about. I'd much rather get out there and chase it a little bit, and I don't even really like chasing it anymore, to be honest with you. I don't like leaving my house, to be real with y'all. I'd much rather chase the winter storm, to be honest, but I know a lot of people are into that kind of stuff, and I certainly get it. Anyways, it was just wild. I can't wait till we start to just break down winter weather for the next 4 months or something. But anyways, I just wanted to share that. God bless all y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day. Appreciate the support. And we'll talk again soon. God bless.